Hello, everybody, and welcome into Palmetto Sports Daily on this Thursday. I'm Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston, joined by Rick Henry over in Columbia. Jill Schumacher is joining us from WMBF in Myrtle Beach. Caroline Soro joining us from the upstate. And guys, we have reached day 3 of Egg Dog Watch here on Palmetto Sports Daily. We're just jumping right into it this time. We're not even messing around. We have all the way from Ireland a response from our own Carmine Jamea. But before we get to that, Jill and Caroline, we haven't had a chance to hear from you guys on this horrific tragedy we saw in Augusta with Carmine Jamea putting egg salad on a hot dog. So, Caroline, this is your guy. This is your coworker. I'm giving you a chance to defend him right now.
You know, Kevin, I don't know if I can claim him as my coworker after this situation. I mean, this happened on a day where I was not paying attention clearly, because this is the first time hearing about this. So I was not present at the Masters tournament when this situation was happening, what you call a tragedy. I think that's probably a pretty good way to describe it. I don't know. I've never lived in a world where egg salad belongs on a hot dog. I don't really know what would have been the better alternative. Maybe the pimento cheese on the hot dog. That seems like a more natural combination. I just don't know. I need to see the response and hear the explanation, and maybe I will, be able to cut Carmine a little slack. I don't know, Jill. I'm a little disturbed by the whole egg salad hot dog combination. I don't know about you, but that's just me.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is the first I was hearing about it in general, but I thought it was just egg salad and a hot dog bun, and then I found out there was actually a hot dog underneath the egg salad. So, no, I'm not for the combo. I'm also more concerned about that sitting in his stomach in the heat during the Masters. That's a whole nother thing. Oh. So, no, I'm not for it.
Well, Jill, consider this, too. That hot dog sat in his stomach during the heat for the last round of the Masters. He got in a car with Ella, drove back, and then got on a plane to Ireland for however many hours. So that stuff was, I don't even want to know what happened in those rides.
Yeah, well, let me add this, too.
I wouldn't want to be sitting next to him on the plane.
We've reached a weird place.
Okay, now.
I wouldn't want to sit next to him on the plane, that's for sure.
Okay, now in the media building there's Carmine. Okay, well, in the media building at the Masters, you can pick up your sandwiches and they have a dining area right next to it. But Carmine, he made it a point to bring it back to the workroom where I was there along with some other media members. He was really proud of this concoction and he wanted to show it off, while Ella, she was trying my chicken and pimento cheese. She was sitting right next to him. Right there, you can see she couldn't stand it anymore, so I think Ella excused herself. But Carmine, as pleased as he can be, to eat that hot dog with egg salad on it. Oh. It just gives me chills watching it and thinking about it.
I think we were all caught up. And now, all the way from Ireland, Carmine Jamea has made a response to our talk about his concoction. Let's go to Dublin and hear from Carmine.
Here in Ireland, and I'm just leaving the pub. It's Darky Kelly's here in Dublin. And the reason I'm leaving the pub and interrupting my vacation is because I just got word that my name is being dragged through the mud behind my back on Palmetto Sports Daily. Usually it's to my face, which is great. The Louisville Slugger, I had a tiny bat. My boxing moves, like Muhammad Ali, couldn't execute. And now I'm coming to find out that the Egg Dog, my new creation, has been blasphemed behind my back. Now the reason why, I'm going to defend myself for a second, which is probably digging myself in a deeper hole. The reason why I combined the egg salad sandwich onto the hot dog at the Masters is because Devin, a WIS videographer, said my dog had no condiments. So what did I do? I added mustard and mayonnaise, yes, a little egg as well. And I thought that was a video being taken in confidence among friends. Coming to find out, it's being shared on South Carolina and national TV while I'm across the pond. And I have my girlfriend telling me that I'm the court jester of Palmetto Sports Daily. So here I am defending myself on vacation. But you know what? I'm going to come back just like Northern Ireland native Rory McIlroy's come back in both of his Masters back-to-back victories, losing the lead, but yet showing that resiliency. That's the same thing I'm going to show here while in Ireland. And I'm going to come back stronger than ever when I do rejoin, fly right back across the pond, and save my valor and honor from the egg dog and my friends doing this behind my back. So actually, I'm going to leave right now, leave my vacation early, and get back to the States to defend my honor on Palmetto Sports Daily. Cheers, and I'll see you then.
Well, a couple of things here. Why was he whispering? Please tell me, why was he whispering?
I'll tell you why he
Is
was
he
whispering.
that ashamed?
I'll tell.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
and then
why
he
he's
said,
whispering.
That
He doesn't want
absurd.
anyone in Ireland to
Yeah.
know he's coming up with an egg dog.
hey, but also,
is
Kev,
that
he
absurd?
goes, he's going to do just like Rory McIlroy, losing his lead. What lead is he talking about? If his girlfriend is calling him the court jester, he's got that role all to himself. He's not losing that. So at this point, Carmine realizes, hey, he's dug himself a deeper hole. He's talking loud. No, he's not. He's whispering and saying nothing. So I can't wait for him to come back to see what he's going to do next. But losing his lead.
Maybe
Oh,
he needs
me.
to stay across the pond for a little bit. Think about this one. Maybe he'll be past the egg salad by the time he gets back, or maybe he's egg salading his way all the way to a green jacket like Rory McIlroy. I don't know. Things are wild. I'm concerned. Let's just hope they don't have any egg salad in Ireland, because who knows what's going to go on if that's the case. Guys, I think we need to take a break and move on. So we are going to come back with more Palmetto Sports Daily in a little bit, and hopefully less egg salad and hot dogs in the next few minutes. Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. We've moved on from egg salad to basketball. We're talking about the NBA postseason, and we already talked about the play-in game between the Hornets and the Heat yesterday, but we're bringing it back up again because we do have an update on the situation with Lamelo Ball and Bam Adebayo. The NBA, after investigating the situation where Lamelo appeared to grab Bam's leg, sent him tumbling to the ground, he actually left the game with a lower back contusion, did not return. The Heat's best player, they end up losing. After investigating this, the NBA ends up fining Lamelo Ball for the situation because they upgraded the play to a flagrant 2. There was no whistle blown. There was no foul called. If there was a foul called, Ball would have been ejected for the situation, but now it's been upgraded to a flagrant 2 after the fact, so he's fined $35,000 for that incident, and then he used some foul language in his live post-game interview after the game, so he was fined an extra $25,000 for the profanity. So LaMelo Ball hit with about $60,000 in fines after the fact. We have not heard from LaMelo since the fines went down. We heard from him after the game saying that he apologized to Bam, said he hit his head and didn't know where he was and was grabbing for things. He appeared to grab his leg. The whole situation ensued. We do have a response from Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra, which is new today, saying that he doesn't think Ball is a dirty player, but he does think it was a dirty play, a dangerous play, and it should have been called in the moment. He said on Tuesday night after the game he thought that Ball needed to be penalized and he should have been thrown out of the game for what happened. After the fine, he says he doesn't think Ball needs to be penalized anything more than that. And if you're on the Hornets side of things, you're probably, maybe not feeling good about the situation because you have a player that's been involved in this controversy and it's been the talk across the league for the last 48 hours or so. But when you're thinking about having one of your best players potentially suspended for your next play-in game, which is for the right to get into the NBA playoffs, you're probably feeling pretty good about the fact that he is going to be able to play and is just getting a fine. So here's head coach Charles Lee today responding to the whole situation, the NBA ruling, and then we'll talk a little bit about what it all means for Lamelo.
Love that, Melo took accountability, apologized. I think the league handed out something that was what they deemed to be fair, and we're glad that we still have him going on to the next game. I know he never has the intent to try to hurt anybody out there on the court, but glad everything is kind of settled now.
Were you concerned that it could possibly go the other way and they might hold him out?
It's definitely on my mind. You never know what could happen. But I trust the league to make a fair decision. They do a really good job of collecting all the information and then putting out a fair consequence for that.
So for the fine, the league actually called it unnecessary and reckless contact, which was the grounds that they upgraded the situation to a flagrant 2 on. And of course, Bam Adebayo, also there's video circulating on social media of his response to the situation, basically saying only Lamelo is the one that knows whether it was an intentional dirty play or not. He also said that, with the money that Lamelo makes over the course of the season, $60,000 doesn't really do a whole lot in terms of, discipline. Those are Bam's words, not mine. So Rick, I'm just curious what you think about the whole thing now that we've, got the official word of a fine, but Lamelo still being allowed to play on Friday against the Magic.
Yeah, let's break this thing all the way down. I've looked at the video several times. No one talks about the fact that a Miami Heat player kind of nudged Lamelo. I don't think he was trying to do anything against the rules or malicious intent. But Lamelo goes down, and he's reaching out. And I want to warn all of y'all, if you're ever around me and I'm falling and you're nearby, there's a good chance I may reach out to you and take you down with me. Because at my age, when you get hurt, it takes a long time to heal up. But anyway, the NBA fines him $35,000 for taking down Bam Adebayo. But there's 3 referees on the court. There is no whistle. How can something that egregious go uncalled? He should have been whistled, thrown out of the game right then. But there was nothing. So I got to take the NBA to task for that. Do I think it was a dirty play? No. But I can see him, getting called for a foul and being thrown out of the game at that point. It's just kind of mind-boggling that there was no whistle at all. It was like, hey, nothing to see here. Keep playing. Kevin?
Yeah, and it feels like if there's no whistle and you're going to make that decision, then it's tough to come back and say, we're going to take this money away from you because of what happened, even though it didn't have any effect on the game, or at least there wasn't a call that had an effect on the game after that. We know Adebayo had to leave the game with a back injury shortly after that play, so that's what went against the Heat. We need to talk about what's next for the Hornets now, and that's a game in Orlando coming up tomorrow night. And like you said, Caroline, that's a game with it's winner take all at this point. The winner goes on to be the 8th seed. They're going to play Detroit in the first round of the playoffs starting next week. The loser has their season ended. It's been a great season for the Hornets. They need to get into the playoffs to kind of take this next step for what they're looking to do. And, after the way they played the other night, it was a back and forth game, an overtime game against Miami, a team who, for the most part, didn't have their best player in Adebayo after that injury. So I'm curious to see. This Orlando team has just been kind of spiraling the last few weeks. So I'm hopeful that Charlotte can go in there and get a win on the road. They need to see more from Con Knippel, though, because he was rough in that game the other night against Miami, so much so that he didn't really play much in the second half of the fourth quarter or in overtime there, Jill.
Yeah, by no means do I think it was intentional to injure any other player. However, I do think it might have been a little bit intentional to try to slow down the game and kind of complain potentially about a prior foul. But that being said, maybe it wasn't intentional, but what is intentional and controllable is how you behave after a game, and you get fined for that as well. So just going into this next big game tomorrow, you got to control everything, because now the refs are getting basically flamed for not calling this at all, so they're going to be on the lookout completely the next game. So you got to knock all of that off, because they will call anything to kind of bring this back into control, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And, on the court, Kevin, just to your point as well, yeah, the Hornets are going to need more from Knippel. And I know Lamelo Ball had 30 points the other night, but they're also going to need more from Lamelo from an outside shooting perspective. I mean, this is a team that lives and dies by the three, and it's something that they didn't do very well in that game against the Heat. And that's why they ended up taking it to overtime and escaping by 1 point. I mean, this team has been blowing teams out since kind of the turn of the calendar year in 2026, partially because of how well they've shot the ball. I mean, Knippel led the NBA in threes over the course of the regular season, and LaMelo Ball was right behind him. It was 273 for 272 for LaMelo, and that's going to be something that they're going to need to show up and do against this Orlando team. They've actually beat the Magic 3 times this season. They've played 4 times, 3-1 record against them. So going to be interesting to see. These two teams are pretty familiar with each other from having met several times over the course of the regular season, but you need your big time players when you get in big time spots like that. And I know this roster is really young, but they're just going to have to lean back on what they've done well all season, which is, well-oiled offense, scoring the ball, being able to shoot the ball well. But we've got more Palmetto Sports Daily coming up for you guys in just a few minutes, so we'll be right back. Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. We are talking baseball this afternoon. Clemson baseball, that is. Tigers are on the road at number 9 Virginia this weekend, which is a pretty big deal for the Tigers, considering they have not played very well in ACC play this season, which is no secret to anybody. They actually have their worst ACC start since 2022, and that was, oddly enough, back when Monty Lee was the head coach. Gamecocks fans now pretty familiar with him. They were 4-10 in that stretch in 2022. They're currently 5-10 after dropping the series against North Carolina over the weekend. They gave up 16 hits in that rubber match on Sunday. They got a win over Charlotte on Tuesday, which kind of helps a little bit going into the weekend, but still, Coach Eric Bakich not happy with what he's seen so far during the course of conference play, and he's on a mission to get over the hump and fix it.
Ultimately, even bigger picture, it's on me. I'm responsible for this program, and I got to make sure I'm playing the guys that make us win. And if that means we got to shrink some opportunities to just limit it to the guys that seem to do well when they go out there, then that's what we have to do, and we'll figure that out this week. But we got a lot of work to do as a coaching staff to make sure that we have a strong second half of the ACC, and it's going to need to start this week.
Coach Bakich called the ACC an unforgivable league, basically saying that if you let it get away from you, it's going to get away from you pretty quick. So the Tigers have a chance now to kind of right the ship between now and the end of the season, and they've got a couple big-time conference series coming up to do that. Pitching has been a little bit of an interesting spot for Clemson, something that a lot of people thought was going to be their bread and butter over the course of the year, but they've been giving up double-digit runs all throughout their last couple games, and it's something they're really going to need to fine-tune as they get down the stretch here. Jill?
Yeah, Coastal Carolina is also playing this weekend. They're hosting Georgia State after falling to Wake Forest on Tuesday, but they had a pretty strong showing against Arkansas State this past weekend and winning the first 2 games but dropping that last one and really flexing their muscles during that 9th inning stretch. The concern was when playing more difficult opponents, if you will, like Wake Forest, what happens in that 9th inning when a team holds strong, and I think we saw that against Wake Forest on Tuesday, dropping that contest 10-5, now 26-10 overall and 13-2 in the Sun Belt. Still keeping up that conference series streak. And this should be a pretty good series. It's not as tough of a matchup as Arkansas State, but they Georgia State beating Arkansas State twice earlier in the year. But this should be a good matchup going into today, and we'll have a chance to hear later on from head coach Kevin Schnall in our sportscast when we hear from him during our media presser. But thank you, and we will head to a break here on Palmetto Sports Daily.
And welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We're going to talk a little college football right now. It's been a very busy spring for Gamecock head coach Shane Beamer. He was in Phoenix supporting the Gamecock women at the Final Four, and also ran into him down at the Masters. Everyone loves to go down there and watch some golf and just check out the beautiful course. Now, South Carolina did not have a spring game this because of the construction at Williams-Brice Stadium, but they made the most of their opportunities that they did have. Now, the goal was to acclimate the new coaches to the Carolina system and the players to the new coaches. And Coach Beamer says they made a lot of progress since March, but there's still more work to be done as they head into their summer break.
I like this team, the work ethic, the maturity, the intentionality about everything that they're doing. Even last Saturday, I mean, I think a lot of the teams in the country, if it was practice 15 on a Saturday morning, you got the Darius Rucker concert later on in the night, you're not having a spring game, would have not had the practice that we had. But we had a really spirited, energetic practice last Saturday, and those guys had fun out there competing, working, and making each other better. That was the theme of this spring, just the way they went out there and worked.
Yeah, now most schools, they have those 15 spring practices, and it ends with a spring game. But you heard Shane there said, you know, they had a rigorous, probably all-out practice to wrap up their spring drills. And so now it's time for summer workouts, and then they'll return and get ready for fall camp. And we'll see what Shane Beamer will do in his 6th season as Carolina's head coach, coming off a 4-8 year.
Yeah, going to be exciting to see as all of our teams kind of wrap up spring practices and everybody football related gets ready for the NFL draft that's coming up 1 week from today. So we will have our eyes on that for you guys, but that's going to do it for this episode of Palmetto Sports Daily. Everybody enjoy your lovely Thursday. We will see you right back here tomorrow.